talk about the books I loved in 2020. Hello all, so what's up? I hope you're good. So today we're here to talk about all the books I loved in 2020. And I'm saying all the books I loved in 2020 instead of my top 10 or whatever, because I want to show you all the books I gave 5 stars to. I gave 5 stars to 19 books. So I didn't want to narrow it down top 10, top 5 or whatever, that because that's gonna be like another video, like top 5 of my entire reading life, whatever favorites, if that makes any sense. So yeah, let's just jump into that video because I'm happy, because I'm basically talking about books I loved, so I'm happy. And the first book here, the first book I gave 5 stars to in 2020, in January 2020. This is so not a surprise, and it is... This one, the last book in the We Were Children series by Shannon Maguire, YA Portal Fantasy, one of the best series out there. And she said that there were 3 or 4 books coming, and I'm praying every single night that that series is never gonna end. Oh, I loved every single one of the books in that series. They're all 5 stars. So if you have not picked it up, I don't know where you've been. If you're new here, welcome to the pack. But this is basically the series I'm gonna talk about all the time. I keep talking about it because it is one of my favorite series ever. Basically what it has to do with is that it's a bunch of kids who went through their door and they ended up in a magical world that was made for them according to their personality. Basically, if you are a very logical person, you're gonna end up in a logical world. If you are a very wicked person, you're gonna end up in a wicked world, etc, etc. You might be like, yeah, this is weird or whatever. Alice in Wonderland is a portal fantasy. Narnia is a portal fantasy. So many books out there are portal fantasy and you don't even know. So yeah, but basically they're coming back from those worlds in the normal world and they just cannot cope with it. They want to go back, so they end up in a special school that care for those kind of kids, but of course the parents or don't know or don't want to know or just do like nothing happened, etc. There is so many representation in that series, and one that's close to my heart is Ace representation, because it was actually the first time I was reading something with an Ace character, so it really means even more, if that makes any sense. But yeah, definitely pick it up. I'm already talking too much about this book and I have so many books to show you, so I'm gonna stop here. But seriously, if there is only one book you have to read unheard during your life, it's gonna be one of the books from the We Were Children series, and my favorite all of them all is In an Absent Dream. So you know everything. Then we have something I don't usually read because I'm not really into historical fiction kind of thing, but this one is also something I'm obsessed with, and it is The Romanov by Nadine Brandes. It has to do with the Romanov family, so the Russian family, and I really love anything Anastasia, and this one is a historical fiction because really half of the book you're gonna read it and be like, okay, this is actually what really happened. You really have the impression that you're reading a historical book, and when the magic kicks in, you're just like, wow. It was so well done. I gave it 5 stars so easily. I read it in no time. I have this special edition that I got from... Oh, it's signed. I totally forgot that it was actually signed. I cannot remember. But yeah, yeah. Then the next book I'm gonna show you is actually the first one in the series, but I've read that one last year and I've read all the other 4 books in that series this year. They were all 5 stars, and this is... I'm so excited. Whatever. But A Natural History of Dragons by Mary Brennan. Oh my gosh, it's also some kind of, I don't want to say historical fiction, but it has to do with women not being able to do what they want because they're women, they're just there to bear children and to clean the house or whatever. But you have the main character here who wants to become a naturalist. She wants to study dragons and she doesn't want to have kids, she doesn't want to marry, etc. And she's gonna end up in a museum seeing like the dragons, etc. And she's gonna find herself a husband that's gonna allow her to actually achieve her dreams. And that series is like so powerful. Yes, of course, because the woman is actually doing what no one thought she would be able to do, but also because she's gonna go on adventures and everything Someone is calling me. Sorry, I'm filming. Yeah, so many adventures, good and bad, and I loved everything. And also, this is a memoir, so she's actually telling you what happened in her life. And she's an old, sassy woman, and she's gonna be like, I can't talk like that, I'm an old woman now. And it's just like, I loved it. And I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is as perfect as the book because the voice and the accent of the narrator and everything, it was just like perfect, a perfect combination. So the audiobook and the book, I love that series so much, and I only have one book left that is not in the series, that is actually a novella about her granddaughter's story actually. So I really recommend that book. Like, that's a series that's 5 books long. I know it, you have to commit, but I read this one last year and all 4 this year because it was that good that I couldn't just let it sit on my shelves, if that makes any sense. So 5 stars of good, but I'm gonna stop saying 5 stars at all 5 stars, so yeah. Then 5 stars to this one, which is the sequel to Even the Darkest Stars. No, All the Wandering Light, because this is actually the sequel. That's the sequel, so whatever. It is a YA power fantasy. It has to do with the main character who wants to become an explorer, and her sister also wants to become a royal explorer kind of thing. But one day the best explorer ever is gonna come and ask for Kamsen, so the main character, and they're gonna go on that adventure. There is a dragon, there is a magic cute little fox that is not that cute, but that is cute, whatever. And there is a weird relationship between the main character and the animal, and I loved everything about it. Like, yes, it's for fantasy, yes, wintry setting, but I feel like any time you're gonna read a wintry kind of book, there is that kind of atmosphere that warms you up. Like, this is so weird. I don't know how to explain that with my broken English, but whenever I read something with a wintry setting, I feel warm inside, I feel excited, I feel happy, I feel like adventure is gonna happen, and you know, the good, etc. I don't know, it's so atmospheric. I really loved it. I would definitely recommend that. Duology, it is a duology, so you don't need to commit to a never-ending series. And yeah, I only have 2 middle grades on this pile, so let's hope next year I'm gonna have more 5 stars middle grade. Frost Heart by Jamie Littler, no surprise, it's one of Gavin's favorites, and a lot of people actually loved it. Power fantasy as well. It is a story of that little boy who has some kind of magic. He has some kind of power everyone is afraid of. His parents disappeared, so he was adopted by a family who doesn't want him anymore because he has that power that everyone is afraid of. So a yeti is gonna take care of him until someone sails to that village, and that's actually super weird because they're sailing, like they are on boats, but it's all icy kind of thing, like anything. It's like, it's magical, and he's gonna go to that adventure with that boat, and he wants to find his parents, and he wants to understand who he is and where he's from, etc. So I definitely recommend it. It's so cute and it's warm, and the friendship in it, and I loved everything about it. The cover is gorgeous, the illustrations are amazing, so yeah. The next one is also another surprise, but it is Middle Game by Shannon Maguire. I know a lot of people actually didn't love that one. I actually loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Like, I started that book and I knew I would love it. The writing style was magical, and the stories. So basically you have a brother and a sister who were separated when they were babies, because together they're like a catastrophe kind of thing, and on each side they are super intelligent, but actually they're not like real babies or whatever. They're the result of an experimentation, and it's so much more than that. The girl is amazing at math and the guy is amazing at language, and they like keep pushing each other. They keep being on the other side of the country or whatever, but they keep getting together. I don't know, it was so powerful. I loved everything. It was like magical, and the writing side, like the writing style was absolutely amazing. That cover makes sense, completely makes sense. If you read the book, you know where that hand is from, and makes sense. And the characters, and yeah, it's fantasy, but it's like magical realism at the same time, because it's in old world with no magic in it, if that makes any sense. I want to reread. This is definitely a book I'm gonna reread. I believe this is the first sci-fi on the pile, and this is True Life. So this is the last one in the lifelike series by J. Christoph, Anastasia retelling, and it is a sci-fi with robots, all different kind of robots, and I love that. I love the dynamic between the robots and the characters. I love the secrets. I love what they were fighting for. I love all the different groups. I loved everything about it. So basically you have the main character who's, actually using robots in order to fight and to win those fights, to actually get money to buy medication for her grandfather. One day her robot's gonna get completely destroyed, she won't be able to use it anymore, and she's gonna go into the trash and find an android. She's gonna find one that she will be able to use, and that's the beginning of everything. I freaking loved it. So I'm just gonna say that I freaking loved it. Then the second middle grade is actually The Wolf Rider by Catherine Randall. Basically, you have the mom and the daughter living in the forest in the wilderness, and they are wolf rider. Basically, what it is that they readapt wolves to the wilderness because those wolves belong to a rich family or whatever. They bought it as a pet and they wanted to keep it, and then one day they were bored and they were like, I don't want a wolf anymore, so they're gonna give it to them to actually readapt them to the wilderness, which actually is a good thing, but bad that you have to get to that. Why would people buy wolves? But that's stupidity. There is a general or a colonel living nearby who doesn't want the wolves around, and he's a very mean guy and bad guy. I wanted to kill him from the very first page, but I cried. It's not the most beautiful writing style, it's not the most beautiful story ever, but wolves are, you know, so it made me cry and I felt, and I'm in love with it, and wolf, that's all I need to say, really. So I loved it. It's so weird that it's empty here because the book is here, and that annoys me, but then I started rereading a series that I read a long time ago when I was a kid and in French, and I reread this in English with Ola, and this is actually Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I gave this one 5 stars. So stop. I want to just say that the sequel was not as good as I had in mind, as I remembered, and I don't think the rest of the series will, but this one was still super close to my heart. I enjoyed everything in it. I really loved diving back into that world, and I actually needed to love this book so much because of what happened to one of my favorite series that was completely trashed by that author I'm not gonna name, and I really needed to love something else, so I really needed to dive into that one, and I'm happy I did. I'm happy Ola did it with me. I will definitely be continuing with that series in 2021. Then this is Trinity of Bones, which is the sequel to Twice Dead. I really want more people to actually read that series because not a lot of people are talking about it. I haven't seen anyone talking about it. I don't think a lot of people actually read it on Goodreads, but this is a fantasy that I really loved, a YA. So basically in the first book you're gonna have the main character who travels with her father from one place to another because he's some kind of merchant, and one day she's gonna actually have a mission she wants to go to, and she's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna do it as best as I can. I want my father to be proud of me, etc, etc. She's, you know, motivated, etc, and she ends up getting killed. So who killed her? What happened? Because actually she comes back as a ghost. The ghosts are not uncommon. They look like human, and there is a whole political thing behind it. I really enjoyed the characters. I loved it. Was completely different from what I've read recently, and I'm really in love with that series. I think there's gonna be a third one. I hope there's gonna be a third one, and if not, I hope I can find another book written by that author, or that she writes something so I can give another try to her writing kind of thing. But I really enjoyed this one. Then I read that one, which was actually a book I got from that gallery. Thank you again for approving me for that book. It's basically the research of someone. So it's not a fantasy, it's not a sci-fi or whatever. It is science, it is a memoir, some kind of memoir, telling you the story of someone doing a master, then a PhD, and studying wolves. And I loved how thorough it was and how slow it was, because the guy was like spending months on the island not seeing anything except snow. And I loved that aspect of the story, because usually in documentaries, you know, you watch on TV, you see the animals, you see amazing shots, but you don't see that they've been waiting for years before having that second, that shot, or that film or whatever. And I really loved it. This is definitely not for everyone. This is definitely not for you if you're not into wolves. It is not for you if you're not into science and biology, the wildlife, etc, etc. Not for you. It's not gonna be for you if you don't like those kind of things, but I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. And yeah, thank you again, and I really hope I'm gonna read more books like this in 2021. Then a book by my friend Rachel Tremblay, and this is Of My Feet. I gave that book 5 stars, like easy, super easy to give that book 5 stars to. It was like tripping. I felt like I keep saying that, but I felt like I was tripping reading that book. It was what the heck, but at the same time it made sense and it was relatable, but it was science fiction and fantasy at the same time with cats coming from space. And I'm just like, what? But the main character was actually so relatable. She lived a normal life, nothing exciting. She went every day to her job, then she went every day to do that, and she lived alone. She didn't have like an amazing social life or whatever, but she was okay with everything. Like, she was content. And one day her place is gonna get burned. She's gonna have to find a new place. So she will find a new place super fast, but not actually the perfect place. But yeah, I really enjoyed that book, so I definitely would recommend that one to a lot of you. That book was one of my most anticipated books of 2020 because when I heard he was releasing something, I was like, okay, I need to read that book. I need to read that book, and I actually read that book in 2 sittings, and it's a chunker, and it is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and just the title. It is a sci-fi adult that feels like a bit like YA. It wasn't like really feeling like adult, but it was an adult definitely because of the age of the characters and some of the topics, etc. But I really enjoyed. It was sci-fi, so something I needed, and it was something different from Aragon, so that's the same author. And I really loved the journey of the main character. She went into a journey that's her own because she is with a guy she loves. She has a crew that sounds amazing, and they go to missions like from one planet to another, whatever. And one day she's gonna actually discover some alien thingy on a planet while she was going to repair some kind of robot or whatever, and that's the beginning of everything. And she's gonna discover so much about herself, so much about the universe, so much about other creatures. It has space battles, it has aliens, it has humans. You're gonna cry, you're gonna be happy, you're gonna be like, what the heck, and you're gonna wonder. And there is an amazing crew, even if sometimes it felt a bit too robotic, but at the same time it made sense because they were all living differently, and to travel from one place to another they were actually sleeping. So it's like you're leaving reality behind, you go sleep while you travel for 6 months, and it's like nothing happened for you. Like, I really loved it. It's a standalone, it's a chunker, but absolutely worth it. So I'm happy I actually read it in no time. I loved it. Then I've read these, but you probably know because you see them in my wrap-up, etc, or not yet. I don't know when I'm gonna upload the wrap-up. But yeah, the Bear and the Nightingale series, I mean, it's the Winter Night series, is one of the best series out there if you like Russian folklore, magical creatures who are actually characters, who are not just there to be there. But there is some kind of romance, there is a lot of magic, there is a family, and there are things to fight for that I would also fight for, and I have nothing bad to say about that series. It's not the happiest story ever, but I loved everything about it. The writing style, it's so atmospheric, it has a wintry setting, it is in Russia, and just saying it is in Russia, it has a wintry setting, it sets up the atmosphere, I feel like. So I would definitely recommend it. It's beautiful, it's just beautiful, and so many people loved it, so. And the last one is actually a manga I gave 5 stars to, and it is The Promised Neverland, which was what the heck when I discovered what the manga is actually about. I was not expecting it, and I loved not being able to expect anything. Does that make any sense? I loved the fact that I was surprised, and what the heck for a surprise, because I loved it. I'm gonna continue with the series. I don't want to say what it is about. I want you to pick it up not knowing what it is. Let me tell you, it's good. And that's it, wolves. That's it. I feel like it's super bright. Maybe it's my camera just brightening everything up or whatever. But whatever, wolves, this is the end of this video. These are all the books I gave 5 stars to. Let me know if you read any of them, if you like them too, or actually hated them, or give me one of the books you gave 5 stars to in 2020 down below. But yeah, I'm super hyped. I don't know why. I love talking about books I loved. Duh. But yeah, well, so I'm gonna leave you here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to be a part of the pack. Talk to me in the comment section as usual. And until next time, take care, wolves. Bye.